Welcome back. In this video, we're going to read and discuss some AITAs. I've got Reddit pulled up. Let's jump right into it. AITA for refusing to allow my mother-in-law to come to our home until she apologizes for her comments about my past. I, 27 female, made a lot of mistakes when I was younger, and at 16 I had a baby daughter. Her father was a lot older, a very bad guy, and was sent away to prison before she'd been born. We of course have no contact today. I'm ashamed of my past and do everything in my power to better myself and provide for my daughter. For example, I missed out on my GED when I was younger, so I studied to achieve it later in life, and I'm currently part-time at college while working. My daughter is 11, healthy and flourishing in school, and I couldn't be prouder of her. 6 years ago, I met my current husband, 27, male, and he's just a wonderful human being. He's been nothing but supportive to me and an amazing person to be around my daughter. So much that I wanted to marry 2 years ago, but when he formally adopted my daughter. The only problem is his mom. She's very conservative, being a born-again Christian, and the interactions we've had together have not been very good. I've always been very aware she dislikes me as a result of my past and didn't want my husband to marry me or adopt my girl. But on both sides, we were able to be civil enough to disagree. My husband doesn't have the best relationship with her either, but tries his best. I've always been supportive of him through that. Recently, though, she said something really awful. It was during a family meal. She came over with her husband, and we ate alongside my daughter. My mother-in-law kept staring at me and my daughter to such an extent that she was visibly uncomfortable. I asked her politely why she kept looking at her like that, to which my mother-in-law coldly asked if she looked anything like her father, and whether we could compare his face to his mugshot. The story's not even over. I'm just pausing in shock. Like, you said that in front of the kid? Needless to say, I was floored. Yeah, I was floored. Needless to say, I was floored. My husband was furious and my daughter actually cried, which makes me start to bawl too. My mother-in-law smirked and just left with her husband, and from then on, my husband and I have refused her access to our home. This was a month ago. A few family members have started admonishing us for keeping her away for so long as we have. My reply is that she hasn't apologized, and so we don't want her back. But they're saying we're being cruel and not being understanding of her moral values. Her moral values. Which she should only apply to her, not to everybody else. She's apparently said she's sorry about what happened, but crucially, she hasn't said that to me. Am I being an a-hole, or am I within my rights here? Edit, I forgot to mention that mother-in-law has been bad-mouthing me to the rest of the family since before she did this, but still has not said sorry to me, though. NTA. NTA, NTA, firm NTA. Firm NTA. That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't think even an apology to me and the husband would warrant that woman coming back in the house. I feel like you need to make it right with the kid, because I can deal with my feelings. The husband, like, we're grown-ass adults. We can deal with our feelings, but you upset the kid. That's where you know what I mean? It's like, that's crazy. That's crazy to say that in front of the kid. And I'm honestly, like she said, she was floored. I'm floored. This actually has me a little bit heated and angry, because that's, when it comes to, like, messing with kids like that, like, don't use kids as the, like, weaponry in your fight with some other adult. That's disgusting behavior. That's crazy. Don't take a shot every time I say crazy. You are not being the a-hole at all. I don't think she should be allowed around unless you can prove that she's going to change her behavior around that child. Period. Like, the fact that she smirked and left, like, that means that was, like, I don't know, that gives me the impression, like, that was pre-planned. Like, she kind of thought out, how can I come into their home and drop this bomb? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it seems like to me. Like, I don't know, to just bring that up out of nowhere, just, I don't know, seems a little forethought out to me. That's all I'm saying. Or it's like, even if you're, like, thinking that, it's just, like, say, like, even if that is truly just, like, your thought, and you're just, like, sitting there disgusted with this, and you're thinking it, like, be an adult, be in charge of your feelings. Like I said, the mom and the dad should be, like, be in charge of your feelings. If you're disgusted, smile at that child fucking politely, say fucking have a good day, and leave, or whatever. Like, whatever you need to do, but, like, don't bring the child into it. Insane. AITA for telling my roommate her boyfriend can't visit her. Roommate troubles. Oh man. Here we go. Now I've always got lucky in life. I never had roommates. Like I always like ended up living with the crew that I was partying with, or like with a good friend of mine or something. That again, I was always like in some sort of like party house. So it wasn't really the normal roommate experience. And I just feel really bad for people who seem to tell me these like normal roommate experiences where they're just like a normal person trying to live in a house and someone's being all crazy. I can't imagine like if a normal I'm just thinking back to like the craziness level of the houses, some of the houses that I lived in when I was like young and I first moved out of my parents' house. I think it was literally even before 18 when I did it the first couple times. But I can't even imagine like a normal, like regularly functioning, like 9 to 5, girly, clean, like everything functioning in the house with us. She would have horror roommate stories for sure. We only got along because we were all like on the same vibe, you know what I mean? Am I AITA for telling my roommate her boyfriend can't visit her? I, 18 female, am a freshman in college and got randomly assigned to my roommate. That's worst case scenario. Oh my goodness. In the first semester, her long distance boyfriend, who is 4 years older than us, came to visit twice. Once when I was away for the weekend and once during a break when I went home. Both times he stayed a day longer than I was away. The first time this happened, I slept in my own bed sharing a room with them. The second time, my roommate asked me if I could give them alone time, and I slept on the friend's floor. Sounds like the roommate's overstepping, but let's read on. Recently, she asked if I would be traveling this month, and I said no. She informed me that she was hoping her boyfriend could come visit and stay in our dorm room for 3 nights, as hotels are expensive. I told her I didn't feel comfortable sharing the room with them for 3 days. Didn't want to sleep on my friend's floor again. She said that her friend has an air mattress I could borrow, and I told her I didn't want to sleep on a random person's air mattress, nor did I want to impose on my friends and her roommates for 3 days, especially as she wanted him to come during a time like when I have exams and I need my room to study. I asked her if it would be possible for her to wait till spring break to see him or visit him, or if he has his own apartment rather than, come here. She said she really wanted him to come here, and I repeated that I don't want him to come. She then left the room. When she returned, it looked like she had cried, and she told me that it makes her very sad when she can't see him for a long time, and that I'm not letting her see him. And then if my long distance boyfriend came to visit, she would gladly sleep in someone else's room. I told her that wasn't the point, and that if he really wanted to come, he could find a cheap hotel. Yeah, it sounds like the roommate's overstepping. You're expecting too much. She's not responsible for like providing a space for you and your boyfriend to be together. I remember when I was like in high school, I remember being very jealous because my 2 friends, they happened to be girls and they were together, and they were allowed to, like, their parents like thought they were just friends or whatever, and they were allowed to have sleepovers, and they were like together all the time, and they're the cutest little couple that would like wake up cuddling and all this stuff. And I was so jealous at the time because me and my boyfriend, who like all of us were like the 4 best friends, me and my boyfriend didn't have anything like that. Like, he lived at his parents' house, I lived at my parents' house. We were boy and girl, and they would like not, you know what I mean? It was more of a like we weren't allowed. I wasn't allowed to be over there being all coupled up with him like that, at such young. And I was really jealous, but that wasn't on them, and I never took it out on them. Like, that wasn't their responsibility to provide me any kind of place to be with my boyfriend. You know what I mean? It's like we're talking really young. Like, she's 18, she's a freshman in college. I understand, like, maybe the roommate got a little ahead of herself, thinking like, oh, I'm going into college, I'm gonna have all this freedom, me and my boyfriend could be together all the time. It's like, girl, you maybe need to manage your expectations, because you're sharing that space with someone else who you need to be respectful. Like, that's not your space, that's both of y'all's space. Like, that's, I don't know, I guess like the occasional sleepover somewhere else for one night is okay, but it's like, if you ask them and they're not able to, especially because they've got something going on, like she's saying she's busy with finals and stuff, it's like, you can't wait, or you can't go see him, or you can't do, like, there's nothing else that can work. Like, I have to leave my own house for you to be able to see your boyfriend. That shouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't be on her. It's not her relationship, it's not her responsibility. NTA dorm rooms with roommates are not designed for overnight company, especially the romantic variety. Exactly. It's like I have a feeling it's just like you got ahead of your own self, thinking that going off to college was because she's a freshman. You know, it's like first time you thought you were like an adult now going into all this freedom, and you didn't quite realize, you know, maybe how limiting dorms can be. I've never lived in dorms or had the dorm experience. So I definitely, especially being paired with like a random person, that's crazy. And you kind of have to understand that you don't really have that much wiggle room to ask for favors and them making you comfortable, because you're a stranger to them just as much as they're a stranger to you. It's like they owe you nothing. Like, you know what I mean? It's like everybody needs to be polite to everybody in general, but it's just like, I don't know, asking her to literally leave her own place and or like shack up with a boyfriend and a girlfriend, which I'm telling you, you don't even want her hanging out there with you there anyway. So it's like you're asking her to leave for several days from her own abode to go sleep on an air mattress somewhere. No, especially when he has an apartment. It's like, girl, you need to figure it out where you can get over to his apartment. I'm sorry, but like there's even another space you can be. You know what I mean? I understand sometimes you can't get it. I don't know. I don't. Maybe that won't work or whatever. But either way, like that's not on her. Seriously, one of my college roommates would have her boyfriend stay over all the time, and if they thought I was sleeping, they would have loud sex. Several times I wasn't even asleep yet. More often I woke up to it and would yell or bang on the wall and hear, and I would, you know, they would hear I was awake. If I got mad, she would say how silly I was, that I embarrassed by the thought of people having sex. No, but it's not like no. See, that's crazy, and that's like kind of what I would expect to happen if the boyfriend stayed for 3 days. Is they would expect to have sex, and that's why you need to absolutely leave, because it's not a thing about, oh, I'm embarrassed that you guys are having sex. It's a consenting thing. I don't consent to being included in you guys' activities. That's a whole, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, silly, it's embarrassing. No, it's consent. It's I don't consent to participating in any. I don't. I it's like it's the roommate a voyeur who not, like, you know what I mean? Like that's actually crazy. And that was a comment that I read. Like, that's crazy. I feel bad for that commenter, because that's really it's like it's hard. It's hard for me to relate personally. I feel very differently personally, but I'm just saying, it's like if someone doesn't consent to that, they don't consent to that. Period. And it's not up to you to decide what they should consent to. Crazy. Let's go back and find another one that looks good. Oh, goodness. AITA for not giving up my plane seat? Probably not. Probably not. Let's click in here. This is loading really slow. AITA for not giving up my plane seat. I, 23 female, recently had to fly across the country to attend my sister's wedding. At the airport, there was a mom around 40 with her little son, and the whole around 6 or 7, and the whole time she was demanding things from the airport staff. When we boarded the plane, I went straight to my seat, which was a middle seat, sat down, and took my earphones out when the mother and son arrived. They had the window seat and the aisle seat. Oh, God. Directly, the woman demanded that she must sit next to her son, that I must sit in the aisle so she could sit next to him. Girl. I don't like sitting in the aisle seat very much. I told her friendly that I don't like, to give up my seat, as I don't like sitting there. And then she started to yell that it is her right to sit next to her son. I politely told her that I would be willing to change seats with her son. And she continued yelling that she needed the seat and that she won't accept that her son has to give up his seat, that he's a child and he deserves the window seat. In the end, the stewardess came and I could sit in my original seat. The mom kept accidentally kicking me the whole flight and made her son annoy me on purpose so I might give up my seat. When I went to the toilet, I thought it was finally over and she might have accepted it, but when I came back, she was in my seat, and my jacket and my bag, which I left, were thrown into the aisle. They called the stewardess and they made her give me, they made her get it back into place. AIT for not giving in and just letting her sit next to her son instead of politely declining and sitting on my seat. NTA. That's insane behavior. I almost read some of these and think like it must be made up, because I can't imagine a person behaving like that. But then again, I know it really does happen in real life. And again, that makes me very, very concerned for the youth, that child involved, being, watching the behavior and learning that behavior that is demanding and entitled And like, that's ridiculous to be like demanding that someone like give up what they have procured because you didn't procure what you wanted to. Like, that's insane. And then when she doesn't want to and you go out of your way to accidentally like kick her and annoy her and all this stuff, like, that's crazy rude. I'm not even sure, again, it's like this this comment made me laugh. Honestly, we need more info on why you prefer the middle seat. Which I got distracted, but that was my first thought. It's like, why do you want the middle seat in between two people? But again, if you don't want the aisle seat, she did offered like, I'll take this seat, and you two can still sit together, which is an added level of like, why are you being so hard to deal with, woman? Because you've asked me to move, and I say I will take that seat so you two can sit together. Like, you're saying your objective is that you and your son need to sit together, but apparently also your objective is that he needs to sit in that seat. So it's like, you have too many objectives. I'm trying to work with you, but you're demanding too many things at once. You know what I mean? Especially when you don't have any right to demand literally anything. It's mine. You know? Well, I just don't like to sit in the aisle seat. She didn't say she prefers the middle. She was openly switching to the window. Yeah, that person was like a little confused on that. They might have missed the part where she said like, I offered to take the window seat, and the mom wouldn't do that either. It's like, geez, woman, what do you want at this point? AITA for telling my sister if she can't handle seeing our parents at my wedding, she shouldn't show up. Initial thoughts is yeah, like, if it's your wedding and you would like your parents there, if someone doesn't want to be there because of that, they maybe shouldn't attend, it seems like. But let's read. My sister, 29, was a nightmare growing up. That is a fact, and my parents did not handle her well. She was 16 when they gave up and sent her to camp. It was horrible for her. The moment she was 18, she left and was on her own. She hasn't been in contact with them since. A few years ago, we got back in contact, and she is much better, in a better place, and we have been slowly reconnecting. I'm engaged, and my wedding is this year. I sent her an invite, and she gave me a call. She asked if our parents would be there, and I told her yes. This is where we got in an argument. She wants me to not invite them, or she won't show up. That they were horrible to her, and how dare I invite them. The argument was that they treated me well, and it's not my fault that, they sent her away. Also, she was a pretty feral kid, but I don't hold that against her. We went on for a while, but in the end, I told her if she can't handle seeing our parents, not to come. She hung up and thinks I'm a jerk. Wow. Yeah, NTA, girl. It's your wedding. If you want to invite who you want to invite them. It's not like I understand it's a bad situation, and if she feels inequipped to come around those people, then she just is gonna have to miss out on something because she is not equipped to deal with their emotions. Like, and I'm not saying the parents just like get a free pass. We don't have hardly any backs. I'm not like on the parent side or her side, but I'm just saying it's like you're not in any current danger from those people, and this isn't something that is required for you to be at. I understand you want to, but it's not a requirement. And so I feel like if it's your wedding and you want who you want there, you're entitled to have who you want there and invite them. And if other people aren't okay with that, that's kind of on them. A lot of people are saying not enough information. Apparently, it kind of depends on like how awful the parents were to the sister, but it's kind of like, I don't know. This one's like, I don't know. Sorry, I keep getting these long pauses. I swear, your screen's not pausing or anything. I just like am losing my train of thought. This is kind of midway for me, and I'm like processing here, and I'm reading kind of some of the responses. It sounds like your sister had an untreated mental health issues, but your parents made very solid efforts to help her. Oh, you know what? That's a really good point. Now, sounds like sending to a camp is absolutely, in my opinion, misguided. That is not what I would do to help a child that is suffering from mental health issues as a non-parent, I always say. So take my, what am I saying? Like take what I say here with no grains of salt. But it's like I feel like that was a really bad way to do it, but especially like back then we didn't really know that much, and those were probably their best efforts to help this child who probably, I agree, it kind of sounds like there probably was an untreated mental issue, because my first thought was like, oh, the parents just suck. But if the child who's getting married said that she had a good relationship with her parents, then it's not necessarily just the parents, you know what I mean? Like maybe it is an issue with that child. um and 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 as a child, it is the parents' responsibility to treat, but again, it sounds like they tried their best but with limited resources and information. um like back in the day, like a camp was like the recommended thing to do for stuff like that, right? I don't know. It's your wedding, it's not hers. It's understandable if she doesn't want them at her own wedding. Sure. Yeah, honestly, NTA. Most people are agreeing that it's NTA. Did you tell your parents that you invited your sister? They know, and they said they wouldn't interact with her. Have your parents ever tried to reconcile? Or do they ever mention her at all? Or is she like never existed in the first place? They have reached out once, and my sister made it clear to not contact her again. They've shown remorse to losing one of their kids. My mom, dad still has pictures of her up in the home. See, yeah, it's like I'm reading more and more of the replies back and forth between the OP and people asking questions, and it does absolutely kind of confirm that one commenter's suspicion that this sounds like well-meaning parents who probably like did some misguided things that weren't helpful to mental illness, and they feel pretty badly about it because they keep her up in their home. It's like obviously they have grief and remorse. It's like they obviously didn't want it to go the way that it went. I feel like that's kind of, again, if this person does have some sort of undiagnosed, uncontrolled mental problem, she is not most likely in control of her emotions, and probably shouldn't go to that wedding and be around those people if she's not prepared to do that. um, but that's on her, and so that makes the OP definitely not the a-hole. Thanks for joining me in this video. If you like it, don't forget to hit the little thumbs up down below. Subscribe while you're hanging out down there, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.